You all please join me to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we start off with a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. D'Andriano?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. Get a motion on the reports?
I'd like to make a motion to approve accept the code compliance for January 2021, code enforcement for January 2021, dog control officer report for December 2020, Patterson Fire Department fourth quarter for 2020, and the Patterson Recreation for January 2021. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Get a motion on the supervisor's report.
I'll make a motion to approve and accept the supervisor's report for December 2020. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody like to make a motion on the minutes?
I'll move that we approve the town board meeting minutes of December 23rd, 2020 and January 13th of 2021. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody like to audit the bills?
I'll make a motion to approve abstract number 2 dated January 29th, 2021, the amount of $141,333.37. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So the administrative task is the audit of the bills.
Okay, the first budget transfer that we have is from 2020. It's a correction to the request number 37. It's a change in the account numbers, 8310-200 and 8310-400. So I'll make a motion that the town board approves the change in those account numbers relative to budget transfer request number 37 of 2020. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have budget adjustment request number 1. Following budget adjustment is necessary to carry forward remaining budget allocations for the Putnam Lake Carp Gate project and the EMS building project. It's increasing fund balance designated capital projects, $90,565.19, and increasing ambulance equipment and capital outlay, $87,001.01, and special services Putnam Lake Carp Gate, $3,564.18. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have budget transfer request number 2. The following budget transfer is requested to allocate additional funds for the assessor's equipment account per the attached request that we have. And it's moving money from the contingency account, $525, money to the assessor's equipment computer installation, $438, and assessor equipment file cabinet, $87. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Charlie, might as well keep going.
Gotcha. First item tonight is a memo from our new judge, Honorable Robert Leader. I'll just read this. On December 30th, 2020, the town board authorized an opening checking account amount for me in the amount of $250, but the required amount for the bank is only $100. I requested you amend the amount from $250 to $100. I have attached a check in the amount of $150 for the difference. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve the request from the Honorable Robert Leader outlined in his memo of January 22nd, 2021. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, we have a letter of resignation. I am writing to inform you of my decision to resign from my position as a member of the Board of Assessment Review. My resignation will be effective as of February 9, 2021. I have enjoyed my time on the Board of Assessment Review, but present circumstances dictate that I am unable to continue as an active member of this committee. Sincerely, Irene Pascal. I'll make a motion that the town board accept the resignation of Irene Pascal. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi,
Sean?
quick question. Can we just, on the previous resignation, so we have an opening. Do we have anyone that has expressed interest that we can speak to? Because I think timeliness is pretty important right now, right? With the grievance day coming up in only a couple of months.
Well, timeliness is important. No, I don't know of anybody that is interested, but we might want to consider having the town clerk advertise the position. Get it up on the website. Put it up on, you can put it up on Facebook for us.
Yeah, I think we'd want to get someone
Yeah.
into that as quickly as possible. Okay. So first item, we have a very detailed letter from members of the Putnam Lake community. I think everyone on the board has had a chance to review. And essentially, it relates to a number of very concerning issues relating to quality of life concerns in the South Lake, I'm saying the address right, South Lake Drive section of Putnam Lake. And it revolves, some of it you would describe as typical teen activity, loitering, bonfires, some graffiti, some littering. Some of the other issues that it brings up are some drug use and some other illegal activities, speeding, a lot of concerns that the board has already been speaking about. And this is an issue that we spoke about months ago. I know that Rich, you and the sheriff, Sheriff Langley, have both been involved to some extent with some conversations on this. And in the past, we have looked to the liaisons to our Park Advisory Board to help us with evaluating this situation. So really to open up for discussion for the board, I think there's a number of, excuse me, a number of areas that we can look to get involved with this. Obviously, the Sheriff's Department and the state police need to be involved, right? Because if there's illegal activity going on, those reports should be made directly to the police agencies, not to the town board, at least not as the primary point of contact. Obviously, if something's going on, we don't want people calling the town board to report it. We want them to call the police so they can immediately investigate and take appropriate actions to protect our community. So I mean, I think number one, we need to make that very clear to the people in the Putt Lake community that if you see something, say something, but say it to the right authority. And certainly I'm sure Pete can elaborate on that, on the proper mechanism and what should be done. Secondly, Councilman DeAndriano was very involved with helping the Putt Lake community to do the Neighborhood Watch program. And I know that that has kind of been quieted by the COVID concerns, but I think that's something that we certainly support, revitalizing that community action program. And Pete, you had mentioned there is a liaison to the Sheriff's Department for that, not only Neighborhood Watch, but community action. So I think we need to certainly support re-energizing that relationship. They mentioned that there is an unsafe dock on the lake. And the supervisor had reminded me prior to the meeting that months ago, we had asked the Putt Lake Park Advisory Board to evaluate 6 potential sites for future docks. And maybe, as the supervisor had said, maybe this is an opportunity for taking an area that is currently not viewed as a bona fide recreational site, making it something that would be more usable to the community, better visibility, safer, something that the community would embrace rather than creating kind of a derelict area where we have lots of concerns. So there's a number of areas where I think we can help to, with the input from the Park Advisory Board to be able to address these concerns. I don't think any of these are insurmountable. I think it's just a matter of the neighborhood and the town board and the Sheriff's Department, the different police agencies working together for the best outcome for the community. So comments from the rest of the board on this? Anyone have any thoughts?
No, I think you outlined, some very viable strategies that we are interested in pursuing. I would say one of the requests within the letter is that we meet with the residents out there. I think that's going to have to be postponed a little bit until the weather turns nicer. As the weather turns nicer, we certainly can reach out to the people on the petition and arrange a meeting for the town board to meet with them on site.
Mhm.
I think fixing up dilapidated docks in areas and, places like that, it goes with the crime prevention concept of crime prevention through environmental design, where, it's when you have dilapidated areas, it actually attracts people to hang out and do criminal activity. And when things are spruced up and nice and fresh, and it actually deters crime, and it actually attracts more use of, community use, positive use. So maybe, taking down that dock and putting up new docks and fixing up other areas, if they identify any other areas that need to be fixed up, that might be something. But yeah, definitely we need to reach out to our liaison with the sheriff's office, and that's really the outlet that should be dealt through complaints.
It reminds me also of, you remember when we were struggling with the issue of the softball league in Putnam Lake? And what we were hearing from the community was there seemed to be a lack of response from some of the police agencies when there was a lot of disruptive activity going on in Putnam Lake, speeding and fireworks being let off, and a lot of profanity, and a lot of activities that really didn't support the mission or the goals of having that league, which in many other instances provided a nice outlet for people to come together from the community. And what we found was that there were a lot of problems from people that were coming from outside the community, coming into Putnam Lake, who had no regard for the community. And some of what's contained in this letter speaks to that. People, they're saying, we don't know whether it's people that live in the community or not. Regardless, if you live in the community, that's not something that's an appropriate behavior regardless. But what I remember was there seemed to be a feeling anyway of a lack of response, or a lack of an appropriate response by state police, sheriff's department, et cetera. So I think this just needs to be a conversation that we can also continue to have through the liaison, to put some emphasis on this issue and really bring it to light. Because, these are the kind of issues that we have to be involved with to we've spoken with our local judges about these quality of life issues and how we need to take them very seriously. And make sure that it's like that broken window syndrome, right? If you allow, and that, I think you've spoken about that before, you let that one thing happen and it snowballs into, now all of a sudden throwing litter along the road is fine because there's litter everywhere. Well, that's not acceptable. This is Putnam County. This is not what we want for our community. So I think we're all committed to doing whatever we can to work on this issue for the betterment of our community. Whether we live there or not, it's all Patterson. So we talk about being Patterson strong. This is, part and parcel of that mantra. So.
And this may dovetail actually into something that, Councilman Rogan has brought up with the judges already, and started conversations about starting up a community program for defendants.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we know, since the COVID has this, is this something that is typically during the summer because they have the rope swing and, the warmer weather? Is it, all year round? Because I don't see them indicating in the letter that it's, did they just, finally get together and write this letter to bring this to our, to our attention from, the summer? Or is this all year? Just curious.
I don't think they're out there this Friday night.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, because it's you put a bonfire out on the edge of the lake, and this time you could see it from across the lake. But in the summertime, with the vegetation was mentioned as one of the issues. I
Because,
think
I
this
can
is
see them,
a 6 month out of the year.
anticipating coming, to the warmer weather and not really looking forward to it because this is what they have to look forward to. So maybe they
Agreed.
just want to get a jump on it.
Yeah.
Should we wait until we meet with the residents on this relative to removing the dock or the swing?
Well, again, what I've heard tonight is, I think what we're looking for is the Park Advisory Board to maybe take a look at the dock and tell us whether we're going to fix it up or remove it. And I think we're going to do the same. We're going to go out there and take a look at it and see what this is all about, because I've never been to the site.
no, but just from the pictures, I think probably you don't need a building inspector to look at that dock to say gonna be yanked out, you know, and
Well, I don't know. So what I've seen in the
Yeah.
pictures is there's a lot of wood boards across 2 steel girders going out.
Right.
Right? Those
so
steel
steel
girders
girders
may
could be
be,
good.
yeah, they may
Yeah.
be solid. And we just need to put decking on it.
Yeah.
And railings.
One other
Could be a good community
comment
project.
I want to ask is the liaisons from the board. Now, everyone that has signed this, are they well aware of who the liaisons and if they should talk, you know? who
Are
to
you talking
speak
about to the park advisory board?
Yes.
Well, if you go.
Some of them are on it.
No, but so if you go back, it was, we were all taking turns going over there. It was decided that we wanted the park advisory boards coming into our
Right,
meetings,
that's correct.
right? And, you know, ultimately what happened was, and this goes back pre-COVID days, is they didn't have anybody that was available to come over to our meetings.
Mhm.
So that interaction between the town board and the park advisory board kind of ceased, except for, you know, when I reach out to Laura, I think Laura and I have a great relationship and, you know, we talk frequently.
I thought you were asking whether they knew who the liaison was to the park advisory board, not from the town board. I
Right.
apologize.
No,
That's what
yes,
you were asking.
no, yes, you had me right. He had me wrong. But what I'm asking
Oh, I
is, so do they know,
apologize.
it's fine because I'm saying, you know, maybe I'm, you know, addressing this wrong, but if I want to know if they know who to reach out to on the
On
board.
the park board.
On the park
Yeah.
board, and then they'll speak to us, and yet, you know, saying there, the names are on there, but, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I have a lot of people come to me about the basketball court. So kind of have, you know, the same issue, not on as huge scale going on at the basketball court, the music, and they tend to just address it themselves. You know, I say, call the, you know, the authorities.
Mhm.
You know, really, that's what you should be doing. But I think that maybe we can combat this as a, you know, a double
Mhm.
issue, you know, the way we handle it in one place, we
Yeah.
handle it in the other as well, you know.
The one thing I wanted to go back to though, about, you said they call the, if they take actions unto themselves. I think what we have to do is set out a process though, so that we never have people calling the town when they should be calling the police. I think that's one thing that comes with the community
Right.
education. You know, thinking that the town code enforcement or the supervisor is gonna run out when they should be calling for a police officer, when, you know, and I'm not
Right.
suggesting somebody would see a drug deal going down and go, hey, I'm gonna call Rich Williams because he should be involved in this. If that's the case, then that's far off base. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's when it's something more that, you know, a little more in the gray area, but
I think the
No.
issue is a lot that when they do call the sheriffs, as soon as they see the car coming, you know, whether it's a sheriff or state trooper, they scatter, and then, you know,
Yeah.
the sheriff leaves,
sure.
and then they come back.
Yeah.
So, you know, how do you combat that?
Pete, it would seem with when an area is designated like this, where there's a known area, you would hope, this is where I'm looking for your expertise, with your police experience, that the sheriff's department would say, okay, this is someplace that whenever we're in the area, us and the state police, we can collectively say, this is an area we drive by, we check out. It's a known, you know.
I don't think you need police expertise to figure that out. That's kind
Yeah, no, I mean, but what's the mechanism to getting that done, I guess, is the point. Do we just simply through the liaison or through Langley? Do we?
Yeah, I think yeah, well, I mean, that's how we set up with the neighborhood watch, was we have a liaison from the sheriff's office that he, you know, he says if you have issues like that, not an emergency, you're not gonna call the guy and say, hey, you know, there's kids hanging out now, but
Yeah.
if it's, you know, you're walking your dog and you're finding beer bottles and you know kids are hanging out, or you find little, you know, bags of, you know, drug paraphernalia, whatever, you know, that's why he's there to call him, and then he'll reach out to, you know, if it's drugs, he'll reach out to the drug task force, or, you know, whatever, but if we're not really getting anywhere, then maybe we need to go to the sheriff, and maybe we need to sit down with the sheriff and the liaison.
Yeah.
Maybe there's miscommunication, but yeah, if there's a continuous problem in a location, then, you know, you think that the sector, wherever, you know, whatever sector that is, the deputy assigned to it, that should be on his patrol list to frequent, you know, and if we can get certain times where these kids hang out, you know, patrol those more of those times.
Yeah.
I think the problem is too, is, you know, it's tough when you don't have your own town police department. You know, you could always, if we had a town, I'm not saying we should start one,
No,
'cause,
right.
I think if we do very well with, with the sheriff and the state police. The problem is though, it's two different agencies. They're not really, it's not their town, so they have the whole county to patrol, and state police has a whole other they have two towns to patrol really out of that barracks. So it's very difficult to have a designated, the same person in the same area. When I was in the town police department, you had the same sector every day, and you got to know everyone in your sector. They knew who you were, you knew where the problems are, and you frequent those problems. And, I think that's an issue, but I think maybe the sheriff's department needs to maybe look at that and, make some adjustments, maybe having steady people in steady sectors, deputies in steady sectors, or, at least have a problem list. So when that deputy, maybe it's not his regular sector, you know where the problems are, if there's like a list of hotspots.
Anything further?
Okay. All right. The next item relates to our yearly contract for evaluation and sampling and reporting for our post-closure monitoring and maintenance of the Patterson landfill. Happy to report, although I don't know the exact amount that was reduced because I don't know last year's contract. Maybe you do, but the Sterling was able to basically petition the DEC and get a less frequent sampling program approved. So the costs for some of the sampling have gone down. This contract that we do involves inspection, monitoring, and reporting, as I mentioned earlier. So the request is to approve Sterling Environmental Engineering PCs to do the aforementioned work for an amount not to exceed $5,750. So I'll make that motion that we approve that work. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sitting here looking at, there was something in the front page about providing additional services, but I think we're fine with that.
Okay.
We're doing survey work for $250. We can always approve that separately.
Yeah, not, I believe that we're all set with that, though.
Oh, if resurvey. Okay, so if they need it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, moving along, we talked about this last meeting, I believe. We have an issue with our lighting district. We need to include some additional parcels, actually quite a few additional parcels to cover streetlights the town has been putting up in past years. I have a resolution for the town board to extend the Patterson lighting district. I'd like to introduce this resolution and ask the town clerk to include it in the record as though read.
Second.
It is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Just for the knowledge of the public, the changes we're proposing to the Patterson lighting district would result in an average house of about $340,549 to have an additional tax in their tax bill of $5.77. Very low impact to everybody. Okay, the second item on my agenda is an executive session item for personnel. I'd like to defer that to the end of the meeting. Mary.
Yep, Highway Easy Pass. The Highway Department has requested the use of an Easy Pass for them to make it easier for them to, Easy Pass, to make it convenient for them to go over the bridge. I understand they use the Newburgh Beacon Bridge a lot, and they're bringing receipts in. So pursuant to the Town of Patterson credit card policy, section 4.2.3b, I'd like to make a motion to approve the use of the town credit card held by the supervisor to obtain an Easy Pass and pay for its continued replenishment of $50. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's it.
Peter?
So the last few months, we've been discussing possibility of hiring an assistant for the EMS supervisor, administrator. We've identified a candidate. Rich and I met with the candidate last week. This candidate is Robert Kearns. So Robert has served on the original EMS committee from the beginning. So he was a part of the EMS before it even started. He's currently on the EMS committee. He has a lot of experience in EMS. He's also with the fire department as well, but he's worked in several different EMS agencies around Westchester, volunteer paid for many years. He's an EMT. So I have a resolution here that states that we need to create the position of Assistant Emergency Medical Service Administrator for the town ambulance service. It'll be on a part-time basis. So this position, the position of AEMSA, is the competitive civil service jurisdiction classification, which requires appointment to be made from the appropriate eligibility list. So once the position is established, they'll have to, I guess, eventually give a list.
We have we can take them right off
We can
the
take them off that list.
Yeah, we're good for that list.
Okay.
We just have to create the appointment temporarily until Putnam County actually creates the position for the town.
Okay.
That requires filing an RPC 22. 222.
22. Okay, so that's great. Then we don't have to worry about it.
No, we're good.
All right, good.
Everything's fine.
All right, so I'd like to introduce this resolution and enter it into the record as read. Appointing Robert Kearns as a part-time Assistant Emergency Medical Service Administrator. Serve part-time on a temporary basis, subject to completion of all background checks and compliance with all requirements. Town of Patterson EMS Employee Handbook, and at the rate of $26 an hour.
Second.
Everybody good with the rate?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you.
Great candidate.
We're very well qualified.
Yeah,
It's going to be a great help to the EMS program
Yeah,
and to Denise, obviously.
yeah. I think it'll just enhance it and help Denise out.
Good.
Make it even better. That's all I have. Next item I have is the Highway Department recommendation. I'd like to defer that to the executive session at the end of the meeting.
very good.
I'd like to also invite Highway Superintendent Russ Goff into the meeting.
Very good. That brings us down to other business. Does any councilman have any other business they wish to bring up at this time? We have two things. Jump right in. I'd like to authorize the town clerk and the highway superintendent to advertise for bids. It's that time of the year where we put out for bid wash sand and for ice control, crushed stone, bituminous concrete, tree work, diesel fuel, and heating oil. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
That's one.
Want me to do the Patterson?
Sure.
We have a memo here from the Patterson Fire Department from Recording Secretary Loretta Kennedy, advising us that the following members need to be added to the Patterson Fire Department insurance program. So I'd like to make a motion to add Demetrio Martinez and Dragos Lisa. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other town board member have any other business they wish to bring up at this time?
Not business, just, I'm sure somebody would have said this, but we want to thank the great work of Russ Goff and our highway crews for all of the great work that they've been doing through all this ridiculous storms. Russ, I know you don't get enough thanks, but please relay over to the men that you work with that we really appreciate them keeping all of us safe, because it's been outstanding. Really great work.
Absolutely outstanding, and I'm sure the next few days are going to be even more outstanding. All right, with that, we'll open it up to public recognition. If anybody who has joined us on Zoom would like to have any comments or ask any questions.
Hi, I'd like to make a few comments. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, who is this?
Stacy and Ken Mead.
Okay,
All right, so back to South Lake Drive. The letter actually detailed a lot of the existing town codes that are being broken, not just Mike. But so the letter is actually in detail, and I hope that each of you had gotten a copy of it because it was sent specifically for each of you. I don't know if that happened.
Yeah.
have a copy.
yes, we do.
Okay, so just a few things. So with Pete, I'm actually part of the Neighborhood Watch. So we're the people that actually do a lot of this. I actually attend the All View meetings, which is a neighborhood.
And me.
Yep. Hello?
Stacy, I can hear you, but there's somebody else on the line as well.
Okay, so anyway, so Laura also, she's on the Neighborhood Watch, but we go to the All View meetings. So we are very much in contact with AJ. Actually yesterday and today, I've actually been in direct contact with the sheriff. So in this letter, it does say that we've actually met with the sheriff in person. So this isn't something that it's just having a conversation. They did increase their patrols. Also want to say that everybody in this area does know that my husband is on the advisory board. So it's not a matter of knowing who to go to. We're all speaking with each other. We're all with each other. We are people that are reporting this to the state police. Our area, just in case everybody doesn't know this, Pete, part of the reason that the Neighborhood Watch that you started so many years ago are because of all the houses that were broken into around here. So yes, it did increase with the teenage attendance at these certain areas, but it is an ongoing issue where we did have some success with, it going down, but there's always been a problem with the drinking at the dock. But now there's an increase, like with the rope swing. So you have the rope swing that that wasn't even addressed at all. You have kids that are climbing up 10, 12 feet high, if not higher, grabbing a rope and going and swinging in there. We witnessed people dropping off their children from New Fairfield, parents dropping off their children from New Fairfield to go hang out at this area. We witnessed somebody, you didn't mention the graffiti, that there are actually kids' names on the garbage pail that we fought for 6 years to get a garbage pail. And those two kids are not even from here, they're from New Fairfield. So when it is something like loitering in the middle of the street and people not able to get out of their driveways, or people taking their parking spots, this isn't just your typical teenage kind of things. You have kids coming in from all these other areas. So when we're talking about identifying, at least give us the tools to identify who these people that are even coming over here and whether or not they're even allowed to be here. So we had spoken to, I don't know if you're all aware, but that we worked with code revision just for the parkland.
Stacy, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
I don't know
about anybody else, but our technician here just lowered the volume and I cannot hear it at all.
Can you hear me? Well, Rich, on my screen, can you hear me now?
They can hear all you guys through the microphone in front of you.
Yeah, but
True, but we can't hear them.
we could hear pretty well until you just came in and lowered the volume.
Stacy, say something.
Can you hear me now?
Increase the volume just a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
Hold on, Stacy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's difficult, but we can hear you.
Okay, so hello? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Just tell her to go ahead, she can't hear me.
Stacy, can you go ahead?
Can you hear me now?
Yes?
Okay, thank you. Totally lost my train of thought. Anyway, so a few months ago, we worked with the Putnam Lake Park District to actually revise the different codes. So did you hear that when I was talking about that?
about the revisions to the code.
Right.
So I was working on the revisions to the code today.
Okay, that's great. So I think part of those things would actually help with identifying the people that are actually there and attending the areas. There's a big problem with visibility, as Pete, you were saying, with the, environmental design and crime prevention. I was in front of you guys back in August, and Rich, at the time, we were having the conversation about the dock. In July, there was actually an email sent showing what the dock looked like and how it was starting to escalate. And then by the time I met with you guys over in August, it had escalated with the volume of graffiti that was now happening, which hadn't been an issue up until recently, at least in that area. There's plenty of other people that are coming in there now with graffiti. So, I mean, again, I could be going on for a very long time, but I mean, it's, how many pages was the letter? The 6 pages to the letter, including like the different codes. But again, over the summer, you said that both the rope swing and the dock both had to go. I said, there are people that are willing to fix it, but then you got into whole concerns with just the whole, with the safety of it. I'm telling you right now, there are kids that are climbing on top of it. You'll be out there kayaking, you go up, you see all the graffiti, and then you see kids that are hanging on it, out on it. So they're definitely, this can't continue to just be ignored. It needs to be addressed. And the rope swing too. The more that these areas, I mean, again, if somebody were to get hurt, that's a huge problem. So, I mean, again, I'm glad that you're willing to have a meeting with everybody that's over there. But I mean, again, this has been going on. This has been going on for quite some time, and it's only getting worse and worse. And I'm sorry, but the part that we even said about racial slurs, I don't even understand how, you have kids that are hanging out there. They're obviously showing bad behavior. I can't imagine that they'd be yelling racial slurs at their friends in the area, but okay, it happens. But you have a gang of kids that are blasting music that are coming down the road. One of the neighbors starts videotaping, the volume of this song, the music. Kids come over, physically threatens her, and then the next day the parents show up and then they threaten her, and it's all on camera. So this isn't just your normal teenage behaviors that are going on. You have a bunch of unsupervised kids and some adults that are coming over there. So, I mean, again, this is beyond the park district. My husband is the first person that signed on the sheet. Again, these are things that have been brought up. It's not new information, and we have to worry about our safety. We shouldn't be talking to each other in our community about someone in the middle of the night is rushing to put his clothes on because his senior citizen neighbors across the street have people running through their backyard. So again, you need to address the fact that these are 2 areas that are attracting people to them that are insurance liabilities, and something needs to be done.
Stacy, what was, you just said you met with the sheriff's department very recently and you outlined a lot of this stuff, because it sounds like some of what you're talking about when you mentioned that kids are being disruptive, but then the parents of these kids are equally as disrespectful. It goes along the lines of us always saying we can't legislate good common sense. That goes back to the way people are raised, and obviously we can't control that. But what was the sheriff's department's position, and what are they committing to doing to help solve this for the future?
Well, the woman that it happened to, she didn't want to press charges, but he was more than willing to actually take action to investigate it and to see what happened, but she didn't want to take any action.
Okay, but more globally speaking, with your discussion with the sheriff's department recently, I'm sure most of your discussion was a global conversation about the issues going on and what you're hoping that they will do to help resolve these.
Well, in that in particular case, when I met with him, it was over a lot of these concerns.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the summer, but he actually did see the video of what had happened.
Yeah, okay, but regardless of the video, I'm talking again more about your conversation with the sheriff's department about, and is it, you said AJ or whoever the liaison is. So what was the outcome of that? What was their commitment for the future?
Oh, no, they did. They started to increase the patrols that were going through there. But how can you, I mean, again, if you don't know who's supposed to be there and who's not, there's.
Yeah, but
only-
why would it matter if you, even if every kid that was there lived in the Putt Lake community, it'd still have the same issue. I mean, so even if, I get the fact that you want to know whether they're residents or not, but even if they were all residents, you'd still have the same problem. It's still disruptive behavior, right?
It's still disruptive behavior, yeah, but
Well, I mean,
again,
I
mean,
would
we haven't
spend-
even, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think that I get you wanting to see, well, are these our kids or someone else's rotten kids? But at the end of the day, I'd say, well, the more important issue is to focus our energy on how to remove the concern rather than spending our energy on evaluating whether they're residents or not, right or wrong.
Well, yeah, addressing the concerns by looking at the rope swing, looking at the dock. Again, over the summer, it was said that both need to go. They're still
Okay.
there.
No, I'm not necessarily
Yeah.
in disagreement with you on that. I mean, I think if it's unsafe, we were just saying that maybe there's the potential to make this an appropriate recreational area with good visibility so that there's less, let's face it, you don't have these concerns going on every night on Warren or Jackson Beach for obvious reasons. They're established facilities. They have good visibility. They're marked with signage. Not saying that there's never problems there, but not to the level that you're talking about. We don't have bonfires and drinking and all that going on. Unless it's one of the established Putt Lake nighttime parties that you guys used to do.
No, it's
But
definitely.
those
not
were all
established.
bona fide.
What'd you say?
Those were all bona fide. I remember getting emails on them.
Yeah, it's ongoing, and any of the down trees that were over there, we come together and we've dragged the branches, trying to get them away, so at least there's more visibility, so we can see when people are hanging out at the Blue Dock. So more people tend to congregate over at the rope swing, but then a lot more nefarious behavior if you're talking about setting like at night. And let's be truthful, it's some people that are coming over fishing too, that are just littering beer cans all over the place. But when you're actually setting a structure on fire after you've graffitied it, and that's a big problem. And that's my concern with I know there's a lot of people that would like to repair the Blue Dock, and that would be great. It's people nostalgically look back at it, but if you're going to just repair it, what are you going to do to deter the behaviors of the people that are going there, throwing beer cans, graffitiing it, and setting it on fire? That's my concern. I mean, I don't know how to control everybody's behavior, but again, it's needs to be a change.
Frustrating.
It's very
So
frustrating.
I think before we get into that, we need to actually take a look at this. As I said, I've been out there. I don't know any town board member that's been out there. No decision's been made on whether we're going to repair the dock or we're going to remove the dock. And certainly I want to involve the advisory board, which is supposed to be looking at these issues and advising the board about, what they feel is appropriate for their lake community.
Yeah, that's why we just
Other than-
wrote the letter, because they don't want the dock there and they don't want the rope swing. We don't.
Who doesn't?
Advisory board.
That's not a letter from the advisory board.
Oh,
That's
it's not a
right.
letter from advisory board, no.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So it doesn't represent the opinions of the advisory board. It represents the very respectful opinions of a group of concerned residents. So all Rich is saying is that, it would be great to have the full review from the advisory board, because we look to that board. We can go out and look, but it has to include the advisory board. Ken, we realize you're part of that board.
Yeah.
And if we start going around the advisory board and not looking for their opinion, why do we have an advisory board to begin with? And that's very disrespectful.
Good point.
So,
Yeah.
I really want to include the advisory board. If they want the dock torn out, then we can do that. But, there are also budgetary concerns that they have to wrestle with if we're going to do that.
Well-
Where the money's going to come from.
Right. So this is
I think it'd be,
this is the frustration, because you bring something to the advisory board, then they say we have to ask Rich Supervisor Williams. Then it's, if something is brought directly to you, it gets pushed back onto the advisory board. So
That's not the case here though, Stacy. The case, I understand your frustration because you feel like you're caught in the middle of a back and forth shooting gallery here, but the reality is what Rich just said is absolutely correct. We have an advisory board of which your husband is a member of,
right.
and we have a letter from a group of concerned residents. It's not, is it possible that some of the advisory board has one opinion and some have another? I don't know. Because we don't have someone from the advisory board authorized to represent to say, hey, this is the full opinion of the board. We agree with X, Y, and Z. You know, so I'm not discrediting anything the letter says. I was actually appalled to read it and read it several times already in the last couple of days. So I think what you're hearing, hopefully, is that we have a town board who is committed to being involved to help this community deal with a very serious problem. The concern is we can do the best we can with this site. The underlying issue is the behavior. And that's not something we can correct. That's something that's a societal issue that I think you need to really start to get the word out within your own community to say, this is not something that will be tolerated. Parents need to take accountability for their young people to say, these are not acceptable behaviors. The problem is with COVID, you probably saw an increase because kids have nothing to do. They're completely, everyone talks about COVID fatigue, but the reality is everybody's at their wits' end. So some of these kids probably were a little more, misbehaving maybe than normal. It's not a good excuse, but it's probably a reality of the situation. It was nothing for these people to be doing. So going out on the lake and making a bonfire and hanging out with their friends, and occasionally one of them is an idiot and they do something wrong. We were all kids once. That stuff happens, but we're smart enough to not leave a mess and do graffiti and do stupid things and not get caught because we knew our parents would kill us. God forbid the police or somebody called our house. We knew what the police were the least of our worries. It was what happened when we got home. That's missing today in some extent. And you talked about that, how some of the parents defended the actions. I don't know how to solve that. That's a bigger problem than this town board. That's an entire community solving a problem,
Well, I will say that, Laura is actually very familiar with a lot of who the kids are in the area and has addressed with the parents. But like I said, it's when you're having kids being shipped in from out of town to an attractive place, which is a rope swing where all the kids hang out, that's a problem. So it's being able to stop these parents. And Laura has gone over when she's been available and told these kids, Laura Russo, in case people don't know who I'm talking about, has gone over and confronted these kids and said, you're not from here. You don't have a band. You're not supposed to be here. So, giving the credit where the credit is due. But as far as the consensus from the advisory board, Supervisor Williams did send out an email to the advisory board the other day asking for their recommendations. So I know Ken responded, but did any of the other advisory board reply?
No. However, I will say I have had a one-on-one conversation with Laura about the issue. So while I didn't receive an email back from anybody other than Ken, which kind of surprised me, I did have a conversation with Laura. So,
but also, Rich, would it be appropriate? I'm just thinking, like, you send an email out to the board, it should be a concerted response. I wouldn't expect all of them to just start responding individually. To me, that's a discussion the board should have as a group, because, it's not about individual opinions. It's about everybody getting together and discussing it as a group and seeing what the solutions are. So I wouldn't take it that if somebody said to me, well, I didn't get responses from them, I wouldn't take it as a lack of caring or interest. I would say, well, maybe they're assuming they're going to talk as a board.
Listen, I didn't
No,
take,
I'm
I
not
didn't take it
suggesting
that
that.
way.
Yeah, but I wanted to, because Stacy asked the question of, did anybody else respond? So lack of response at this point, I don't think should be construed to be a lack of caring or compassion for the issue.
Oh, no, I would never, I definitely did not interpret it that way.
Good, okay.
I was thinking maybe it's more of a, is it something that you want to put out formally to ask for a formally written response by, I don't know. I didn't,
I think
no, I
that's-
know all of them care very much.
That's
This
probably
is
what we need.
Laura Russo. Can I just say that the board and I did receive this letter an hour before we had our last advisory board meeting. So it was not on our agenda, but we have put it or tabled it for our next meeting to discuss in depth as an advisory board.
Excellent. So hopefully we'll be getting some feedback from the advisory board. And the board's committed to meeting with everybody out there as soon as the weather turns a little bit nicer. And we'll proceed from there.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else have any other comments from the public at this time?
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.